God was good. If I didn't say that, it would be like, no, it's always like in Congo, it's always an interesting experience because you're like, you look back and you think, oh, it was worth it. And it's always like, God, you see God come through. But sometimes in the moment, you're like we didn't have water for like 2 weeks. So didn't wash my hair for like a week. And I remember being like, I just want to shower. Forget this. I just want to shower. But then, you know, we're obviously what I focus on doing the curriculum and seeing it pioneered by one of the, he works for Justice Rising, but he used to be a teacher, but he's been promoted. So even that set up was such a God connection, because I was kind of like connected with him before, but then with curriculum like fully written, it was really me working with him to see him lead it, but yet like come alongside him and so it'd be sustainable without me. So obviously we were doing it together, but eventually I wanted to like, you know, step back. And it's amazing because my biggest testimony was seeing him come alive with it and be like, Rebekah, this is a ministry I've been looking for, and he's already going into classrooms. So it's like that, he can take it and do more of like that kind of kingdom truth to teach the kids. So you see how God has gone before you, and where you feel that like, oh God, I don't know what if these lessons don't work. Like all my worries the first week was like, what if I've done all this time writing these lessons and what if they fail? Like what if it's just like this massive like fail? And it's funny what worry does, right? It makes you think the worst outcome. But then I remember just being like, well, I can't run from this. I have to like, you know, I'm here. People, you know, so it's just like, okay. And then seeing God come through was just, I was prepared for like, I'm not going to see all the testimonies. Like I want more to happen when I'm gone, you know, and realizing that this is going to be something that'll be in all the schools. So believing for like the big, hey God, I trust you that you're going to use it. But then even some of the like, you know, some of the lessons, seeing kids hear God's voice for the first time. And so genuinely like, God told me I'm a good person so I don't have to beat people. And like so cute. And like some people were saying this one boy heard God say, I feel like Jesus said to me he's going to bring peace to the country. And just like stuff that you're like, I was getting like, oh, like God was showing up. And I realize again, these things you just pour out your life. And it's God's job to show up and God's job to bring the success, God's job to bring the fruit. So seeing these little testimonies made everything worth it, but it's definitely like a different world. And I'm still adjusting, because even some of the stuff, like when we're going to some of the rural schools and like they were Justice Rising were building 2 new schools. So I was based in the first school, but then we were going to like rural trips, and not like as rural as we normally do, because like war had kind of like got broken out a bit, but then it was just like an hour away. But it was like, there's always the worst poverty there. So you're just like seeing these kids in like rags and you just like can't recover from it, because you feel like you're not doing enough. So you wrestle with this like, and I think in a way it's just being like, okay, I don't have, like that feels like injustice to me. And it's like kind of marks you, but yet you're like, hey God, what are you asking me to do? So as a whole, amazing trip. But I guess as family, I want to like, it's not all this like glamour. Like there's definitely sides that you're like, I'm missing Grant, or like I want to be home right now, or I'm feeling like I just want like I'm like homesick, I just want to shower. But look, as a whole, it was like, God, this was worth it. It was seeing his that kind of pioneered. I want to give you guys the real, you know what I mean? Because you're just like, I always figure like I want to say sometimes what people want to hear. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, what do you want to hear when you ask about Congo? But I think for you guys, I really want to say, like, things that you feel like God puts in your heart. Like, just be obedient, but trust him to bring the success from it and push through it. It's, like, worth it. But yeah, that's my little talk. That's my little time. That's good.
And I think the one of the things that's really important is that bit you said, but it's not really, it's one of many things, is the bit you said about where you were struggling with the showers and everything else. And one response is to become grumbly and complaining. Mm-hmm. And this will wreck what God is actually trying to do. Because it's as if it's a bit of a test to see, will you push beyond this boundary or will you start complaining? Yeah. And that happens in Congo, but it happens here as well. It happens anywhere you go, wherever you're working with God. Everything will not always seem to go exactly the way. There will be something somewhere that has a potential to irritate and create a response. And all it is the devil trying to test, what is your response in this situation and what is your motivation? Are you here for your own personal comfort, your own personal? You were able to push that aside and say, no, I know why I'm here, and God, you're in control. And even though it's uncomfortable, I give praise and I give thanks to you for all things, because all things work together for good. And suddenly, you start to realize even that thing that becomes such a big issue to you suddenly starts, it doesn't necessarily go away immediately, but it pales into the background, and you're able to focus on what God is doing. And too often in our lives, that's why for God, grumbling and complaining is a big issue. Because if you had started grumbling and complaining, what you're really saying is, God, why did you bring me here? In other words. There could have been you could say it directly, but you don't need to say it directly like that to be saying it. And that could be something to do with it could be to do with church, it could be to do with your university or your college or something that you say, yeah, God brought you here, and all of a sudden you're complaining about that person. Guys, Callum is after somebody.
That was creepy.
This could be a horror movie right now.
Oh.
So it's
Back
such
to
an
Jesus.
important. Sorry?
Back to Jesus.
It's a welcome distraction. That's why the Bible really says, do not grumble and do not complain. And even in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, when God was speaking about the Israelites, one of the things he said also was, and do not be like them who rose up and they were murmuring. It is better that you had, and maybe you did this, you had gone to God and said, oh God, please make these showers work. Even if you had complained directly to him and says, oh God, you make this water work, or whatever your gripe is, take it directly to him, because the difference between that and grumbling is you're speaking about the situation, but it's okay to speak to God about it, rather than speak just generically about it and get in a huff. Because your attitude when you're speaking to God will be totally different. And too many miracles and too many breakthroughs and too many ministries and too many projects and too many activities that God started have been wrecked because we ended up grumbling and we ended up complaining, oh, I don't know why this happened and I don't know this and this never works and everyone's out to get me and this. And you're grumbling. What you're actually saying is, God, you're messing up my life. That's exactly what you're saying, because if you believe God orders your steps, you're effectively saying that, but you're just using code and not really saying it. That's what we really need. And by the way, it's a lack of faith as well. So that's something I got from what you said.
And it's good. I think it's true, because I think the whole out your comfort zone, like you kind of, it's good. I think I've done that. It's funny where you've done like even stuff that, like even in Congo, there's been other problems that have happened. You know, there's always, I feel like there's always, actually nothing's going to go perfectly, but sometimes you're like, you want the problems that you know, you want the stuff like, I can do this struggle, like give me this struggle. It's like another struggle, like, why this one? Like, but it's just fun because you realize like God doesn't, like it's actually a blessing to be out of your comfort zone. Like you hate it at the time, but realizing that sense of like what's important, what you grow in it. But then realizing, like, as you say, pray for the water. It's not, I say shower, it's like bucket, but that's when like the taps turn on or, yeah. But we got from the river, so it's good. Yeah, it's good. So,
I mean,
Jesus provide.
I think I shared with you guys the story I had when I went to, my friend is a missionary in Niger, which is in West Africa. It's in the north of West Africa. And having been there for, I think, 5 days, I was desperate to come back home. And then at that time, because what it does, it unlocks opportunities for God to do things that are quite amazing, to be really honest. The day before I was going, the Air France pilots went on strike. And I was going Air France. So they sent me an email saying, check to see if your flights are. So I thought, well, going, that's not bad if I'm a day late or whatever. I had some flex in the schedule. Well, anyway, thank God I got away. My flight was not affected because they were flying sort of skeletal sort of services, so they went back. So I did get away. And then for some reason I thought the strike would have gone away and spent the 5-6 days there, and it was time to come back. The strike was extended because the issue was not resolved, so they announced that they're extending the strike. And obviously the strike then went over the period I was coming back, and I said, oh God, I'm here, I've got to get back. And because the flight was every other day, if you miss one flight, then you're 4 days away from when you're potentially coming. Anyway, cutting the long story short, I ended up because they even sent me an alternate itinerary, which was just all over the place to get me out of there. But anyway, long story short, I ended the Air France flight that I was due to come back on, ended up coming back. And when I looked back at it, over the 5 days, only 2 flights went. The one that took me and then went back, and the one that came and took me back. Only 2 flights in those 5 days.
It's crazy.
It's just,
so cool.
And then I sat down and I was thinking, how did this happen? This is just amazing. And yet I was beginning to get agitated, and I was beginning to get, but trying also to think, oh, no, you're in control. And it's not easy. But if you can break through it, then you start to see things that God and only God can do. But you know what? It's not comfortable to be in a place where only God can solve the problem, because you're lacking any ability to do anything about it yourself. And if God doesn't come through, then that's the end of the situation. God will never let you down. That's the beauty of it. So that's the precursor to all of this. And it's nothing to do with what I wanted to speak to you about, although it is.